Is rock music truly the devil? Is what they've been saying for years actually true? Well, this movie certainly seems to imply that. Trolls World Tour sees the return of Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake as the voices of Poppy and Branch, respectively. And the two discover a much bigger world with other types of trolls such as classical, funk, and techno, among others, also existing. Though that's all threatened when the evil Queen Barb of the rock trolls looks to wipe out all other trolls in existence and turn them into rock zombies. So now Poppy, Branch, and all of their friends must unite to stop Queen Barb and save the world. So it's worth noting that this is the first and so far only major release not to push its schedule back due to the coronavirus, but instead kept its original release date and instead went straight to digital. There are technically a few drive-in movie theaters that are also playing this, but total it's like 20 theaters. Anyway, I enjoyed the first Trolls movie, actually a lot more than I was expecting to. I wouldn't call it the most original movie out there, but its feel-good energy, solid jokes, and enjoyable covers of pop songs made it a fun time. I even watched it again right before seeing this, and I still had a great time with it. I wasn't expecting lightning to strike twice for this franchise, because that's usually not the case with sequels to hit animated movies, but I felt that even if it had half the charm from the first movie, it would probably be alright. And yeah, more of the same is kind of what we got here, although that's not totally a bad thing. So let's discuss. The music is once again one of the strongest points here. I don't think anything was going to top Can't Stop the Feeling from the first movie, but the big song to come out of this, The Other Side, was catchy and I enjoyed it. Plus there were a lot of solid cover songs here. I think they overdid it with the amount of covers. There were a few scenes that kind of went on with them here and there a bit too much, but for the most part they were really enjoyable. And what I also appreciated was that now that the world was expanding to include different types of trolls who like different forms of music, we did get a little variety to the types of cover songs that were in this movie. So we got things like rock covers and electronic covers in addition to the pop music. In fact, as a big music lover, another thing I appreciated were a lot of the little references that were made to the music industry in general. Like there were arguments throughout the movie about blending genres and crossing over certain types of music, as well as references to very specific subgenres among other things. And it was really funny, and this movie in general is once again pretty funny. The jokes, like the music, weren't as good this time around, like not all of them were as laugh-out-loud funny as the first movie, but there was enough here to make me smile. There were a lot of fun visual gags, especially whenever the trolls would tell a story or whenever they would get into arguments over something. The voice cast was also solid. Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake both brought back a lot of that same high-energy charm that they had from the first movie, and the only other major returning cast member was James Corden, who was also fine, but I'd say all the additions to the cast were the ones who really shined. Sam Rockwell got some really good laughs as this country troll who helps the main two heroes out, while Rachel Bloom made for a fun antagonist. And there were a lot of appearances from actual musicians taking on roles as different members of the troll communities, such as George Clinton, Mary J. Blige, Kelly Clarkson, Anderson .Paak, and they were all pretty fun, each in their own regard. My favorite though? Ozzy Osbourne as Queen Barb's father, mainly because he was playing a caricature of himself. I mean, I was picturing like I was watching the Osbournes or something whenever I'd hear him rambling incoherently. Even though he was just being him, it was pretty funny. This movie suffers mainly in its story. And like I said earlier, I feel this winds up being the case a lot with sequels to animated hits. This movie is so concerned with doing more at times of what made the first movie a hit that the story suffers as a result. We get quite a few scenes that are just very obvious callbacks to the first movie, whether it be visual cues or major plot points, and that's all they really are, just callbacks. Like the first movie, there's a lot of bickering back and forth between Poppy and Branch, and Poppy herself has gotten to be a bit more annoying this time around than she was in the first movie. Like I said, Anna Kendrick herself is fine, but there's a big plot point about how Poppy doesn't listen to others and she makes a lot of wrong decisions, and it just leads to a lot of back and forth exchanges with Branch, which we saw plenty of in the first movie. So in that regard, this was just more of the same. And along with this though, there's another plot point about Branch just trying to profess his love for Poppy throughout the movie and having a hard time doing so. So we get a lot of scenes where he's about to say something and it falls flat. This is a cliche we've seen in countless other movies and was most notably obviously a big plot point in Frozen 2 a few months ago. And there's nothing about the way it's done here that makes it seem clever in any sort of way. It's just this stale trope repackaged for this movie. And while I like that this expanded on the world of the trolls, part of the Queen Barb plot is that she has to collect 6 strings to place on her guitar so she can destroy all other forms of music. And they're from each of the different troll worlds, and they're all different colors. I mean, this was basically a musical version of Avengers Infinity War, and without any of the nuance that that film had. Not that the first movie was exactly the deepest film going, but I think this movie is one that plays it a lot safer in many regards. So it was a little tiring to see this. This movie is in a weird position. It expands elements from the first Trolls movie, but it still feels familiar. The story not only borrows from the first Trolls movie, but also story elements from a few other notable movies. And I think it caters a lot more to kids this time around than the first movie did. Still, there's enough here that can make this enjoyable. The added voice cast is great, the songs are really nice, and plenty of the jokes, especially those regarding the music industry specifically, are really funny. Is it a great movie? No. But it's good enough that I can still recommend checking it out. Trolls World Tour gets a 7 out of 10. This is certainly going to have an interesting place in history, that being the first movie to go straight to streaming the same day as its intended theatrical release. It's definitely a trendsetter. We'll see if this winds up being a hit, and if it is, it can see an overall shift in release strategy even for when things are back to normal. But let me know, did you see Trolls World Tour, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you think it was better than the first movie, or was it worse than the first movie? And do you want to see more movies go straight to digital? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.